Hello everyone, welcome to another week of Game Time Express podcast where we discuss the big events in the world of sport. And for this episode, this is me, Vinayakk, being joined by Amit and Mayank. And if you guys have been following the Indian Express sports coverage, by just listening to those two names, you would know that we are going to be speaking about chess. Amit, of course, is our main chess guy, so to speak, and Mayank has recently joined our team, and they put up some wonderful stories across the FIDE World Cup, that Women's World Cup that got over last week, with India's Divya Deshmukh and Koneru Hampi fighting it out in an all-India final, and Divya, the young gun, coming out on top, winning not just the title but also earning the Grandmaster title to go along with that. So that's going to be our focus this week. So let's just get straight into it. Amit, to bring you in first, we usually joke when we do the chess episodes, Kamath TR. So we'll just throw the floor to you and you take it over. But today you have someone to share the load with you. Just tell us, first of all, what is the significance of, firstly, an all-India final, and for a youngster like Divya to do what she did in Georgia?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to look at how much of a big deal this is, you just look at the fact that 13 months ago, sometime in June last year, Divya was playing and winning the World Junior Championship in the girls category. 13 months hence, she has already led the Indian women's chess team to a chess Olympiad gold medal. It's one of the most prestigious, or actually the most prestigious team event there is for countries. And since then, she has gone on to win the World Cup, which, I mean, I keep saying this, that it's the most treacherous tournament to win. I mean, the World Championship is the most prestigious, but the World Cup is a completely different beast because you play 6 to 7 rounds, depending on whether you get a bye in the first round or not. Everything is a 2-game head-to-head knockout matches. If those 2 games don't decide, then you go into tie breaks, things like that. So it is very difficult for anybody to compete. For Hampi, her age is like she's 38. So to be at the elite peak for 24 straight days is a bit of an ask. But for Divya to have been at that peak when she had the draw that she did, like, you know, after 2 rounds, the third round that she played, in a sense, technically the fourth round, was against world number 6 from China, Zhu Jiner, who is tipped to be one of the best very soon. Then she had Niharika, one of the stars of Indian chess for a while. Next round, she runs into Tan Zhongyi, who's been one of the only 17 women's world champions in history. And after that, in the final, she runs into the OG Indian chess prodigy, I guess, among women, Koneru Hampi. So for her, it was particularly tricky getting all the way to final and then winning it. For Hampi, there were different sets of challenges, but she still made it to the final. And nothing kind of captured this contrast as to having this sight of Hampi playing Divya in the final. And right next to them, there was another game going on, which was 2 Chinese players, Tan Zhongyi and Li Tingjie, both of them battling for the third place, right? And both of them had been defeated by Divya and Hampi. So nothing quite caught that moment like this. Just for a little bit of context, the Chinese are the undisputed champion of women chess at the moment. Like just today, the ratings list of chess was announced. And if you look at that, the top 5 are all women from China. And the 6th person is obviously Hampi. And Divya is somewhere in 15th. When this tournament started, Divya was, I think, the 15th best rated player in the field of 107 players. So she started from there. She started from being just an IM. And I guess the rest is history.
Yeah, that's as good a summary as we could have hoped for. No, not a surprise from Amit. Mayank, to bring you in. So tell us a little bit about Divya for people who are new to following chess, women's chess especially. We were discussing this during the tournament. She seemed like someone who, I don't know if wears the heart on sleeve is the right expression for chess anyway. It's not like people are going around banging tables all the time. It happened only once, as far as I know. So
thrice.
Yeah, so
it's now a contagious disease now. Everybody is going around banging tables in chess.
Right. People have figured out that that's one way to make it to the headlines in the chess world. But yeah, I mean, technically speaking, you don't really see people express their emotions too much during the game. But Divya seemed like someone who you could, like, just by the look on her face, you could kind of figure out where she was in the game. Is that like something that she's always been like? How is she off the board? Just a little bit about Divya, the player.
Yeah. Hi guys. Hi Vinayakk. Hi Amit. Thank you for having me. To answer your question, I mean, Divya has always been a bubbly kid, a fun-loving, like I don't know how did she end up becoming a chess player, because it's very serious sport in that way. And like, her personality obviously does not suit her game style. She's very, very aggressive, on the board, and her personality off the board is totally opposite to that. She is the one who, initiates the conversation, and she's the one who is the, lively character on and off the board. So yeah, it's a big deal for her to, win this tournament. And to understand what this achievement means for her, we need to sort of understand the magnitude of this achievement. I mean, to only becoming the 4th female Indian GM and only the 44th female in the world. Like, we only have 44 female grandmasters in the world. So that sort of achievement is, really big. And for a 19-year-old to do so, that's really commendable.
And just for those who are not aware, I mean, she actually earned her first norm during the course of the tournament, and she won the Grandmaster title because she ended up winning the World Cup. I think that's part of the regulations, which I think Mayank had done a really nice explainer on it just before the final as well. So, I mean, it wasn't like she was gunning for the Grandmaster title when she came to Georgia, I'd assume. It just so happened that she won the title and, in one go, she became the World Cup winner plus the Grandmaster. That's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's massive as these guys have put it. Just in terms of Chinese domination, the reigning world champion is from China. Amit, where do you see India right now? I mean, that's like the proper challengers for China's domination. I mean, it's probably not going to break anytime soon, as you mentioned, like 5 in the top 5 right now. But India have emerged as the biggest challengers, especially considering what happened at the Olympiad and at the World Cup.
Vinayakk, it's really interesting because sometime between that final, on the day of the tiebreak, right? So the FIDE broadcast took a break from the matches because the players were on a break sometime between I think game 1 and game 2 of the tiebreaks. And that is when FIDE decided to run an interview with Tan Zhongyi, who is a former world champion who Divya had defeated in the semifinals, right? And she ended up coming 3rd. And when Tan Zhongyi was speaking, she said, at some point, that the pressure of playing in this competition is really intimidating. And she was like, I wouldn't mind if Li Tingjie actually she won the 3rd place and I'm okay with that and things like that. On the other hand, you looked at the two Indians and I mean, usually you have that mindset, right? If you are two compatriots, you would at least smile at each other, acknowledge each other, some sort of, familiarity ka yed you will give, right? You look at Divya and Humpy and you will see that absolute edge that they tried to maintain through everything that they did. Divya would turn up first for games. She would sit there by herself, staring away. Humpy would come but would not sit on the board. She would walk around in the playing hall. And then when she got to the board, she would start meditating, no eye contact at all. The most revealing thing was their handshakes were literally like finger touches. Like it would feel like as if you go into a boxing arena and those boxers, when they touch gloves, because they know there is a big fight coming. So it was that sort of a tension-filled thing between them. On the other hand, I've never seen any Chinese competitor in any sport talk about pressure and how they are struggling to cope with pressure and they would rather the other person win and things like that, So that kind of tells a little bit about maybe the changing mindset in a sense. Obviously, one player is too little a sample space, but then Tan Zhongyi is somebody who's right now world number 4. So it's not a very indicative thing. The rest of the 5 Chinese players we talk about, one of them, the world number 1, Hu Yifan, is semi-retired. She barely ever plays in 1 or 2 tournaments a year and that's it. She's now veered into academics. You have Ju Wenjun, who's the world champion, but then the thing about the candidates that is coming up, for which Divya and Humpy have both qualified, is that gives them a shot to challenge Ju Wenjun in the World Championship next year. And the way Divya won this event, nobody was expecting it, right? Nobody was expecting Gukesh to win the candidates. Then probably a lot of people may not have thought that he could actually win, even though Ding was looking very vulnerable, right? So it's an Indian prodigy's world and we are all just living in it. So, I mean, I know that this Chinese wall seems impenetrable, great and all of that, but little cracks have started to appear in a sense.
Perfect. That's a nice segue into what I was going to ask next. Mayank, just apart from Divya and Humpy, we also saw a couple of other impressive performances. I think Niharika had a good run. We had 4 out of the 8 quarterfinalists were Indians. And even Vantika had a big win earlier in the tournament. So just in terms of what it means for women's chess in India, apart from challenging the Chinese, I mean, that's obviously the end goal, I guess, to have an Indian world champion or a world championship challenger by winning the candidates. All that is eventually going to happen at some point. But right now, from the pool of players that we've seen, especially at the World Cup, what does it mean for Indian women's chess? just in terms of the depth that is available.
Yeah, Vinayak, so based on the performances we have had in the past, as in the silver medal in the Asian Games and then a gold medal at Budapest Chess Olympiad. So those sort of performance do indicate that, Indian women are here to stay for a long run. And as Amit has, really nicely put it, that there are cracks which have been appearing in the Chinese setup. So that way we have a pool of players like Vaishali is there, Vantika, Harika and Humpy have been there for ages now. I mean, for last 2 decades, we have had 2 top players gunning for the medals and podium finishes. But now with Divya, the Tayoka of Divya, Vantika and Vaishali, they were actually the one who pushed India for the gold medal at Budapest. So Humpy, if you remember, was not the part of Olympiad last year. She chose not to play that event, even though without our top player, without the India number 1, India eventually ended up winning the gold medal. And that was the first time where both open and women team ended up winning the top prize at the one of the most toughest team event in chess. So yeah, that way we are sorted for, let's say, next 2 to 3 years. We are still looking for our first women world champion from India. But what Ramesh told me was also very interesting to to understand. He said that it's very important for us to have someone like Divya, a success story of Divya, because depth is not there as far as the pool is concerned. We have Vaishali, we have Vantika, we have Divya, but apart from these 3, there is still no one yet who has made it to the elite of elite. So in that way, we still need young girls who takes up the sport seriously and professionally. And what Divya had done, let's say 7 or 8 years back, that was a striking thing which Ramesh told me that was different to Divya if he had to compare that with other players. Because back in 2017, when Divya was only 12 and she had just won the cadet championship, that was the time when Ramesh had said that had Divya have good sponsorship, she can actually challenge for the world championship. And that is something, that's a very big statement back then when she was just 11. So to predict that as a trainer, it takes massive courage to say that. And he was not actually speaking way ahead of his years. It eventually is coming true over the years, because she's already she's 19. And one thing he has mentioned, that at this age, she has the potential to become one of the best in the world. He predicts that Divya can actually reach 2650 ELO rating, which is the strongest as far as the women players are concerned. To give the context, as far as the ELO ratings are concerned, Humpy has touched 2623. So 2623 was her peak. So to judge based on the ELO rating, he feels that Divya can actually become one of the strongest Indian player. And he also believes that, like Gukesh, she also has a really good chance at winning the world championship in her very first attempt at candidates. He says that even if she build on her strength by, let's say, 100 more ELO points, she can have a really good shot, and she is favorite for Ramesh if she reaches 2600.
That's a very exciting thing to look forward to as well in the coming year. I want to casually throw in a flex here, since Mayank mentioned 2017 and Ramesh, who is coach RV Ramesh, part of Prag's team, works in Chennai, Chess Gurukul. I had actually gone there in 2017 for a story with my previous organization, and so it's small apartment where Ramesh was training them. I entered the apartment. I wasn't entirely sure if this was a place, and I was looking around trying to find if there was a board saying Chess Gurukul or something. Then I look around and there is a small kid entering the building. He had a little cell phone in his hand, like one of those really old, like the Nokia 1100, I think. I guess just to communicate with his parents or something, and he called and said, "Yeah, Appa, I've reached." And then he started walking upstairs, and I asked, "Is this Chess Gurukul?" And yeah, come, I'm going there only. That was actually little Prag, who was, I think, this was 8 years back, barely 11 or 12. And Divya was also there that day. She was, I think, I remember speaking to her mother that day, Namrata, who's actually been captured on camera quite a bit during this World Cup. And Namrata used to say, they traveled once a month to Chennai from Nagpur for her training. And every time they came, Divya doesn't want to go back. She just wants to stay here. She doesn't want to go back to Nagpur. They actually got an apartment arranged close by to where the Chess Gurukul was there. I think Ramesh helped them arrange that. And they used to stay there every time they came once a month to train. So yeah, that happened 8 years back. I kind of remembered that last week when I was following this event. So yeah, casual flex. Amit?
Vinayak, this story that you told me, I think our listeners will be very interested in watching Divya and Prag at that age. So there is a very fascinating video on YouTube where if you search for this title, that Prag and Divya play, I think, Chigorin chess or something like that. So if you look at that game, they are both playing against each other with 10 seconds on the clock, both of them, with every move earning them 1 second each. I think this must be when Divya is around 12 years and Prag is around roughly the same age or something. It's one of the most fascinating things I've seen in chess. These two kids look like really sweet. Like Prag is standing up because I think his height was a little short, so he could not reach the end of the board. So he needed to stand up. Divya is there. Divya's father is there in the video, and Prag's mother is there somewhere in the video also. So really fascinating ones. And I think the YouTube algorithm will keep like pulling out these videos and throwing them up as the days pass, because I think the era of Divya has kind of started. Vinayk, just a small segue before you ask your next question. I think you spoke about India and China, right? So I was just looking at, the top 100 girls in August 2025. This is obviously girls who are under the age of 20. In that list, in the top 25, if you look, it's obviously dominated by Divya, who's number one. But then in the top 25, there are 5 Indians as compared to just 2 Chinese players there. So right now, it might seem like China is the dominant force, but India is definitely coming up and coming up fast.
Yeah, perfect. Also, that the video thing that you mentioned, I remember distinctly this. I mean, I don't remember much from that day of visiting the Chess Gurukul, apart from the story I wrote, but I distinctly remember Prag had this style of folding his knees on the bench and looking over the board. Like, he doesn't sit on the bench with his foot down. Like, the feet are up on the bench and then he folds them underneath like he's in some yoga position or something. I distinctly remember that image for some reason. But yeah, Mayank, like we briefly discussed the big picture there. Where do we go from here and all that? The good thing is also the 3 players that you mentioned are quite young, right? I mean, between Divya, Vaishali and Vantika. So that's one positive thing. So what do we expect from your conversations? What do we expect from them next? Like, what would be the natural progression from here? Since India have 2 places confirmed in the candidates already. So what is the natural progression that you would like to see from here on?
Yeah, so as far as this circle of the candidates are concerned, because candidates is something which all the players look forward for, right? So there are 8 places where the winner gets the chance to challenge the current world champion. In this case, as we've already mentioned, is Zhu and Jun. So we have 2 spots. We already had 2 spots last time where Vaishali qualified along with Humpy, but this time we have Humpy and Divya. But there are a few more spots left through FIDE circuit points. And there is one more spot reserved for like the average of all the performance that like I won't go into details and all those things. But there is still a good possibility that one more Indian might qualify for the candidates, but without, heading too much into the future. But speaking purely on what we have right now, I see 3 really good, solid players in Divya, Vaishali and Vantika. All 3 are from 19 to 20, 21, 22. So they have a lot of age with them and they're becoming like stronger every game they are playing, right? So Vantika Agarwal is yet to become a GM among these 3, and like as Divya had said, that GM title is something which will eventually come. So for her to become a GM, like it took one of the, massive vote from her, because like she was not actually looking to get that title because it's not something which you gain from one event. So just to compare, like I'll start from Divya first and then I'll move on to other players, just to compare, Divya's qualities without demeaning her win, like from the male players, from her counterparts, from among the Indian prodigies. I mean, her attitude, like one of the things which we have noticed that in almost all the equal positions, even though in few of the position where she was not having the edge on the board, she never used to take the draw offer, be it from Tanzongi, be it from Zhu Jinner, be it from Harika, be it from Humpy. So that quality, if you remember, during the 2024 World Championship, Gukesh was also like okay, all the Indian players, they have that never give up attitude, but not to take a draw from a losing position or from an equal position also takes a lot of gut, right? So in that way, like she has that belief on her that she has been doing that for ages, that never to take a draw in an equal position, always grind for the win, always grind to fight, and all those things are there. I mean, her ultra aggressive approach, which we have already discussed, is something which is very similar to Nihal Sarin. If I have to, just compare. I mean, if I also have to compare that, I can compare that with Humpy. Humpy is also really sharp in terms of, rapid or blitz, shorter time format games. So those are the things which makes Divya really good at what she does. For Vaishali, she is a very momentum-friendly player. I mean, if she is winning few rounds, you will see that she'll end up winning more and more rounds. This has been her, weakness and strength at the same time. I mean, if you remember the candidates last time, the first half was terrible for her. And the second half was really good, that she eventually finished joint second alongside Humpy and third, like based on the tie-break point she had. So that way she need to just look at her time skill. Time management is something which has bothered both Vaishali and Vantika both. Yeah, apart from like these three players, we can expect them to, come into top 10 really soon. Divya has been around, world number 18, 17. She has touched 15. She has already crossed 2015 during the Budapest Olympiad. So world ranking are not something which they look forward for us to judge on the metric or the rise of the Indian women. I really feel that these three will make into world top 10 really soon.
Lovely. I think we'll start wrapping up. Amit, final thoughts. You've been speaking to a lot of people in the Indian chess community. I know the men's chess, we've discussed a lot about, the wide variety of talent that we've had, the burst of GMs that we keep seeing. Women's chess, on the other hand, like you guys have mentioned, we're just the fourth grandmaster from India. That boom is yet to happen. Do you see that happening in the near future? Just in terms of the widening of the pool, how is your outlook on the future for Indian women's chess? Just to kind of concluding remark.
Yeah, Vinayakk, so if you look at this World Cup final, right, it was one of the most inspirational things to have happened to women's chess in India, because on the one hand, you have a 19-year-old going on and winning, and on the other hand, you have a 38-year-old whose career is kind of finding a second wind in a sense, and she's there in the final. After having achieved whatever there is to achieve, taking like a semi-break of sorts because she gave birth to a daughter, she's come back and she's risen back to the top, right? So that kind of sends a message to the rest of the girls right now that A, you don't have to be too young or too old to be successful in this sport. There is way too much longevity. It's not as if it's just a young person's sport, and if you are 20 and you've not become a grandmaster, that means your best days are behind you and you have to move on, right? So in Divya's rise, there is plenty of takeaways for Indian women. In Humpy's resurgence, there is again way too many takeaways for everybody.
Perfect. As a fellow 30-somethings, I think Amit and I will vouch for the Humpy bit. It is inspirational to see what she does. As a couple of 87 bonds, I think. Nice to see that she still got it. I mean, as much as we've spoken about Divya, great achievement by Humpy as well. That I found that symmetry interesting, that a 19-year-old took on a 38-year-old, twice her age, in the final. Just another, the thing that Amit keeps talking about, writing about, the Indian earthquake, chess earthquake, just another tremor in recent times. So many achievements. We've discussed quite a few of those.
Hey, is this you reminding me that I should find other metaphors for Indian chess? Because I have frankly run out of metaphors. Yeah, earthquake is something that Gary Kasparov said. I'm sticking with it.
When a metaphor works, there's no reason to change it. But yeah, of course, that's where it is, right? In fact, props to Amit. I'm sure you guys follow our chess coverage and all that, but I think your column on the Indian women's chess, this whole thing, women's chess coming together, having a sort of at a good time, came much before the finals and even semi-finals. I think it's just around the round of 16 that you had already called it, saying great to see these group of players doing well. So yeah, keep following our chess coverage. Thanks a lot for your time, Amit. And Mayank, I hope you enjoyed your debut as the Divya of this podcast to the Umpy of me and Amit, the young one. Thanks for your insights. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. We'll be back soon with another episode, and hopefully we'll have Mihir Vasavda back as well for that one. Thanks a lot for listening.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.